Hello, hello, hello. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Breeze in the house. Can you hear me? Hey everyone. Welcome to Clean Greens Living Life. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. You know I need that applause. I'm looking good, feeling good today. All right. So welcome to Clean Greens Living, broadcasted live on Rainier Avenue Radio. I am your host, Queen Bree. And today I do have a co-host, Christina. Daniel, is she in the building? Yay, she's in the building. Let's bring her on. She's going to be my co-host today. I'm sorry, Daniel. I forgot to tell you. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi,
We got her on screen today. You looking nice.
thank you.
You're welcome. Before we get started on our subject today, I wanted to do a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Coast Salish, past, present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish, Suquamish, Nisqually, Snoqualmie, and Muckleshoot tribes. We also acknowledge what has happened to our African American community on this land due to redlining and systemic and oppressive mechanisms of anti Blackness caused by business leaders, politicians, and that were sorry, I can't even, I lost focus. These families were robbed of our opportunity to pass down their generational wealth. And if you would like to share your story, if you were African American family in Seattle affected by redlining and was unable to pass down generational wealth to your family, we would love to hear your story at Black Dollar Days Task Force.org. So please reach out to us there and share your stories. All right. So, as we talked last week, we were updating everybody. Clean Greens right now was closed for produce, but right now we're in our planning stage. And in that planning stage, we have a survey going out. We sent it out an email. We also have it on our social media accounts. So if you go to Clean Greens Farm on Instagram or Facebook, that survey is there. If you would like for us to email you the survey, please contact me at blackdollarcleangreens@gmail.com and I will send you that survey. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear how we're doing. We would love to hear any ideas on what we should grow. Me and Christina and Demarcus are planning our grow list this week. We hope to have it finalized soon. We'll be talking about some of the things that we want to grow today here on the show, and we'll also be just talking about our planting season and what does that look like. I'm starting and planning a planting season. We've been Clean Greens has been around for 15 years, and some of us coming on are we're just learning this stuff. And as we learn it, and for people who tune in to hear about farming and hear about planting, we want to walk you guys through this process as we go through this process. So, first up on the list is crop planting. So, Christina and I have been crop planting, and we wanted to talk about that. So, Christina, are you there? Hey. um, so what? Let's talk about crop planting. What does that look like for folks? How should we get started with that topic? Uh-oh, she froze. Christina? Christina?
Oops.
Yes.
There you go. You're here.
Okay. As soon as you said my name, I was like, So I'm sorry. What was the question?
I said we were talking about crop planting. Where should we start? I'm so excited because I'm learning so many things. Okay, crop planting. So when we start crop planting is looking to see the produce that we want to start planting, right?
Yes, on a very large scale.
Okay. So explain this, break it down to us, because most people who are like, okay, I want to start gardening and I'm going to plant this. What do they have to look forward to when they're starting their gardening or their farm?
Okay. Crop planting basics. So I guess the first thing to consider is our growing zone or your growing zone, because everyone's address growing zone is different. Remember we were discussing the other day how the climate pattern is different from the farm in Duval versus even here in the city. So you want to get online and find out where your address's growing zone lies, and then you can find out what kind of crops can be grown in your zone. A good place to look for that is a seed catalog, or you can probably just like Google it, like what crops can I grow at 98122. And then I think
Can I insert right there?
yeah.
It's important for people to do that, like Google it, look it up yourselves, because we have been talking, and one of the things that I wanted to grow was okra.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't think that we can grow okra.
And we're gonna try it. We can
We're
do
gonna
it.
try. We found out
Apparently,
huh?
apparently we can do it. It's on the list of crops.
Yes, on the list of crops. I've been looking on YouTube, and so okra is hopefully on the list. I can already taste the okra right now as
I
we.
love okra, but I'm the only one in my home. My oldest probably she likes okra still, but I can never put it in gumbo or anything because no one, you
I,
know.
I think only me and my mom in my house likes okra,
So
so it doesn't
what do
get
you do?
cooked.
Cook it on the side?
I haven't cooked it at all, but I'm gonna start because I love it. Like I want to eat fried okra. I want to. There's this goulash okra recipe that is so good that I haven't made in years that I miss, and I'm gonna start making that. But it's gonna be like on a side. It's not gonna be a big pot because only two of us eat it in the house full of 8 people.
Right.
Daniel likes it too. He said okra is amaze balls. I don't understand how nobody likes okra. It's so delicious. It is so good.
I know.
I'm sorry. Okay, so back to crop planning. You have to, when you're doing your planning, you got to check and see the crops that you want to plant, because a lot of times we'll be like, "Oh, I want to grow this, I want to grow that," but can you grow it in your zone?
Right.
And so we got to look that up to see if we can grow it in our zone, in our yard. And then go ahead. What was next that you were talking about growing?
Probably just being realistic about your space and your time commitment.
Yes, because too, space. Like when I was looking on YouTube about okra, it was talking about how you got to grow
You've
okra.
been researching this okra.
Girl, like, I was like, "Oh, we gonna try. We gonna try. We gotta get the lamps and all. We gonna try." But he was talking about like when you're growing produce, you gotta make sure that you have, like she said, when she's saying be realistic with the space, it is true because it said that the okra had to been grown like 2 to 3 feet apart, and then the rows have to be a certain amount apart too. So when you're growing, you're growing in rows, but you also, so you got to have the rows. How many rows do you want? But then you also have to space in that row how many seeds you're going to plant, because that matters as well.
Yep.
When you're being realistic about your space, you want to make sure that you have the space for the amount of produce that you want to plant and grow.
Healthy. Yep. Because each plant needs a certain amount of space, water, so they're not competing. Their roots aren't competing for nutrients.
Yeah.
You know, it's like us. We need our space.
Yeah, look at that okra. Don't it look pretty? I don't learn. Look, I don't learn so far how many feet that needs to be gone. They need to be grown. I know not to let them get too long, because if they get
This
too
is
long,
true.
then they're no good. They have to be perfect size.
Yeah, because when they're big, I don't pick. Yeah, the big ones are stemmy.
Yeah,
When you're picking them at the market.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew like 2 in the greenhouse this past summer. 2 single pods, but with a beautiful flower.
Oh yeah, oh, the flowers are pretty, and they
gave me
they have their own pollination. Look at y'all. Y'all about to call me Farmer Bree at the end of 2023.
This
Okay,
gonna be your specialty crop, your niche crop.
yes. But as we were planning, we were looking into, when is the best time to start your planting. And I didn't know this. Christina, you brought this to my attention about planting. I knew about the first frost. I mean, planting after the last frost, not the first frost. Planting after the last frost. So there's frost. When there's frost on the ground, it's hard to plant. So there's a last frost and the first frost. So the last frost is in the spring, the first frost is in the fall winter. But then there's also planting versus the moon. You want to talk to us a little bit about that, or do you want me to take that?
I think you may need to take that one. Because it's not really something I'm familiar with. I literally just let you know because it's in the seed catalog this year. So yeah, you tell me too. Tell us.
Look, because once I find out something, I want to. Because one thing about Bree is when she's into something, she want to put her best foot forward into this.
Good.
And so I was looking, should we plant frost versus moon? And I get it. So basically, planting versus the moon is planting. You're literally planting versus the moon, the lunar moon. And let me look at my notes. Okay, there are three phases when you are planting versus the moon. Did I write that down? Let me see. I'm gonna get that before we end the show. But planting versus the moon is basically like you're going off of the moon, the lunar moon, and when the moon is in a specific time frame, the soil is more moist, and then the produce germinates better, as opposed when you're just going towards the frost, which I gotta ask Tom, is he doing frost or moon? I don't want to assume what he's doing because he is like specialized in forestry, so he probably has his own thing. But when you're planting versus the moon, the soil is more moist, the germination is better, which makes sense if we're talking about being one with the earth. I would see that planting versus on the moon would be the best way to go. But then versus planting versus the last frost, you want to be careful because the frost is when the ground is still cold, still hard. You want to make sure that the ground is stable enough to put the produce in. Because if you plant certain produce, they're not going to fight with the frost. They're going to die. They're going to wilter. Did that make sense? Do I need to do break it down a little bit more? Can you hear me, Christina? Is anybody out there listening? If y'all need me to break that down a little bit more, let me know. But I think planting, if
Huh?
you're, oh, she says she has no sound. I think if you're planting by the moon, I mean, if you're like one with the earth and you're like Mother Earth, planting by the moon is going to be your best bet. Because you're working with the earth, you're not working against it. The moon is telling you, the moon, the different phases of the moon is showing you when to plant your produce. And I'll get to that. I'll get you that information in a second. But I looked up on our side. I looked up for us when will be the best time for us to start planting, and the last frost is in April. So I now know that for clean greens that we're probably most likely, and I got to talk to the farmer. So don't what I'm talking about on the show is just information that we are just going through in a planning process. And that's what happens is when you're in the planning process, you have to go through these different things where you plan your crops, but then and if you have a team, you got to go back with your team and talk to them about what's going to work best for your organization and your gardening and your growing. If you're just tuning in, you're tuning into Clean Greens Living. If you're tuning into Clean Greens Living, broadcasted live on Rainier Avenue Radio, I am your host, Queen Bree. I do have a co-host today, but she's having a little technical difficulties, and she may be back in soon. But we are talking about our planting season and what does that look like for us. Right now, we're in a process of planning our crops for Clean Greens this year. In the process of changing a little bit up, we have had some feedback from some people who have taken a survey who want to see some different stuff in our produce. And will we likely be able to turn everything around and take account to everybody's opinions on what we should grow? No. But we do want to hear from you. And we did get a few people saying the same things, which is some people want to see okra on the list. Some people want to see, we had green onions last year. So I don't know. I'm still learning as I go, talking to the farmer about like what does that look like for us having green, I mean, green onions the whole time. But people wanted to see, we have feedback about wanting to see sweet potatoes. And so now we got to look up to see if we can grow sweet potatoes in our area. What else? Okra. What else did I say that was on that list? Turnips. What is the mustard greens? Mustard greens. So we want to just try to look at our list. But as we're looking and crop planning, we're also looking to see when is the best time to grow this produce. One of the things that we're learning about crop planting is that you need to know planting by the moon or planting by the last and first frost. Planting by the moons means that you're going by how the lunar moon, and what does that look like? I'll tell you in a second. Planting by the first or last crop, last frost. Brussels sprouts. Yes, we want to see Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are so good. Thank you, Karen. Um, so planting by last and first frost. Last frost is in April. First frost is in fall, winter around November-ish.
Yeah.
I did look at before you got cut off, Christina. I looked up the first and last frost for our Duval farm. I didn't look it up for Seattle. If you guys don't know that Clean Greens will be having an urban farm, I didn't mention that. We will be having an urban farm this year, which we will also be growing on. And we also will be having more training on growing your garden, and we will be giving out starts. So if you're interested in that, keep watching, keep listening, and we will keep you in tune on when that will start. But so for our Duval farm, the last frost is in April. It gives you actual dates. April 23rd is the last frost. So that is something that we needed to know as we crop plan. And then the first frost will be November 2nd. So as you plan that, put that on your calendar. Also, Annette says she would like to see watermelon. Yes, we were talking about the different fruits that we want to try to grow out there. We there's a natural blackberry bush out there on the farm that we want to see if we are able to bring that to the table. But we got to do some work on that too, because Christina was talking about there's specific times to harvest those blackberries, and we want to make sure that we are harvesting them the right way. We want to try to do watermelon. Just so if you guys have any, we got Brussels sprouts, we got watermelon, any other input, keep talking to us in the chat. Also, make sure you take that survey, which is on our Clean Greens social medias. It will be on our website by the end of the week. Please keep it up, keep giving us feedback. Crop planning. I just want to bring us back to, we are in the process of crop planning for Clean Greens. And as we learn and as we do our produce, and as we're learning from Tarmer Farm, who is amazing, who has been growing produce on the farm for years now, he grows, and I really want to work close with him because he grows the biggest, most beautiful produce, and it's organic. And I'm just excited for what's to come with this. But I keep talking. Christina, do you have anything you want to add to this?
So we talked. You brought up the spacing involved. Oh, did you talk about time?
No, I didn't talk about time.
Okay. Well, you said you wanted to start a garden.
I do want to start an at-home garden.
So, what do you like? When do you think you would garden, or how much time do you have to put forth?
So for me, I haven't started planning because we're crop planning right now. After we crop plan, I feel like I could be crop planning myself, and then that's when I'm gonna start.
Okay.
And then for me, the time I have time. I work from home, so as I'm running out the door,
I'm forcing you to think of it now, like on the spot.
No, and I appreciate that because I really do. Like when I went to Atlanta to a farmers conference. Shout out to Bugs. You guys gotta find. I gotta get their information because you guys should be following them. It is a Black centered farmers group, and they have a farmers conference yearly, and it's amazing. It's full of Black farmers, more so from South. We're trying to get our Northwest Black farmers more involved to come out there because it was like when they broke us up in sections, it was like a handful of Northwest and like so many from the South and the East Coast. So we really want to get other farmers, other Black farmers out there. But when I went out there, I was able to look at other farms, and there's farming looks different for everybody. And next week, I think I'll look up some of the pictures that I took. I didn't take many because I was trying to be in the moment. But there was a farmer who was growing inside a greenhouse. She was growing inside the planters outside. But then she also started. She had like some of her herbs in like a planter that you grow your plants in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm thinking I'm gonna have planters and then I'm gonna have the raised beds, but not many because again, I work on a farm, so I'm not gonna have too much time to be maintaining a garden at home. But I
Right.
do want to start, like, it's important for us to start learning these practices for our own selves, especially as this climate changes, especially as we experience inflation and prices. Like, I mean, eggs are like $8 right now. So, I mean, I'm gonna still buy me some eggs, but good Lord, that's expensive. So we really want to start being able to grow our food, and what does that look like? And I don't want to just jump into it because if I would have jumped into it, I wouldn't have known about like when to a crop planting. Crop planting is very important because you're getting that picture of what you want to grow. Then you got to get the dates of when is it best to grow it. Then you also we're figuring out, do I want to grow um the moon versus the last and first frost, and what does that look like? I feel like if I'm going to be in raised beds and in a planters for now, because I don't own my own land, which is that's a goal, is to own my own land. But
Mm-hmm.
because I'm on that, then maybe going by the first and last frost will be best. Because going by the moon, you're going by the moon, and that's determining the ground that you live on. So if you're growing out of the ground, then maybe the moon would be the best way to go because the soil will be moist, more moist. And so digging more deeper into that, if I'm growing in the planters, would that would I don't I personally, I'm not a scientist. I don't think that the moon would affect my soil in the planters because it's not directly in the soil, in the ground. Does that make sense? Okay. I've been known to talk fast, so y'all got to slow me down, okay? And when I get excited, I really go 10 times faster. So, I can say, dang, time is already almost gone. Okay, so here is like four things that I could think of when it comes to crop planting. And Christina, you add on or let me know if I need to add anything or change anything. Determining last frost date, determining the first or last frost date, or the moon. Sorry, there's background interference. Determine your last frost date or by the moon. Are you going to buy the moon or the frost date? Mark those on your calendar. Then you can make your crop list of what you want to plant and see when are the best times to start planting those. Look over your seeds and see if your seeds are you're supposed to start indoors versus outdoors. And those are my suggestions. And then when I looked at the moon, there is three different, sorry, um, moon plantings. There's first quarter waxing, then there's the full moon, and then there's the last quarter, and that's the waning. And we could talk more about this next week because our time is up. But right now, we are in the process of crop planting. Please join us next week, and we'll continue this process of crop planting, and we'll let you know where we're at with it. And you guys can give us feedback or ask us questions if you have any with your crop planting. And thank you for tuning in to Clean Greens Living Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue. Bye.